Okay, great. So this means that the webinar is now recording. So we're going to be recording now. Yvette is going to be going live on my Facebook. So hopefully we'll be able to start soon. So what I would recommend is if you would like, you can actually host a watch party on your Facebook by going onto my Facebook, and then you go onto the live, and then you click on the share, and I think it'll give you the option to host a watch party. And then more folks will tune in. I would definitely encourage you to let folks know that they can ask questions in the comment. If you can, just be aware of, because I won't be able to see the comments that folks are putting in on your watch party. So definitely, during the FAQ, we can use that space to, hey, this constituent asked this question, and continue to, while we're live, it's very helpful to continue to remind folks that they can be putting their questions and comments in the comment section. So yeah, so once we get started, once Yvette lets us know that we're live on Facebook, we'll start off with introductions. So thank you, Rep. Gabaldon, for joining us today. I'm really honored for you to be here today.
Well, thank you. You honor me. Thank you, Ana Karina.
Yes.
Okay.
So it looks like our webinar is now streaming live on Facebook. So if you want to go ahead and start a watch party, and I'm going to start some music really quick.
Ana Karina.
Yes.
Okay, it seems like there's like some permission issues on your page, so I shared it on mine, so you can reshare it if that's okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. So I'll go to your Facebook, Yvette.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll go to Yvette's Facebook, Rep. Gabaldon, and then you can share it for mine.
Okay.
That works. Thank you, Yvette, for offering to use your personal Facebook for my cafecito. I really appreciate that.
Totally
Yay,
fine.
I see it. Okay, so we're gonna start a watch party. And do I still have it? Paste. Yes. Start watch party. Yes. Awesome. So we are officially, oops, I gotta lower it because I will hear myself talking. So, yes, good morning. Buenos días a todos. Bienvenidos a nuestro cafecito, Census y Chisme. We have these cafecitos every Saturday at 10 a.m. You can join in, tune in. We go live on Facebook so that you all can ask us questions about the census. This is a space for you all to join us and to learn more about the census, and not just learn more, but how you can be an advocate for your community to ensure that everyone is being counted and that we have a safe, secure, and confidential and accurate Census 2020 count for Arizona. So I'm here today joined by, my name is Ana Karina Rodriguez and I'm with Naleo Education Fund. And I'm here today joined by Rep. Rosanna Gabaldon. So thank you, Rep. Gabaldon, for joining us today. She is a representative for Legislative District 2, which covers South Tucson area, Sahuarita, and then goes all the way down to Santa Cruz County, where I am today staying with my parents during this pandemic that we're living for COVID-19. And so I'm really honored to have Rep. Gabaldon join me today. When I started my work with, in the community as a community organizer, Rep. Gabaldon was the first representative that I was introduced to. And ever since, I've always looked up to you. I appreciate how humble you are and how, opened you are to helping our community. Last week, we had a little crisis. We were out of water, and it was really nice to know that I could reach out and that you were there to just hear us. And that's, you're an example for a lot of us. I hope that I can continue to be an advocate in our community that is here to listen and here to provide guidance and provide resources. So thank you, Rep. Gabaldon. I'm gonna give it to you. So if you wanna give us, tell us more about you and why you're here today. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ana Karina. What an opportunity to talk to all of you today. Everyone that's listening, thank you very much for joining this cafecito with the conversation, and especially regarding census, which is so important to not only our state, but the United States. But let's focus on Arizona today. and let's focus on how important it is for you to fill out your census. And what an opportunity that Ana Karina and Naleo is giving you today to give you guidance on how to fill out your census. And it was very quick. My husband and I, we sat down together and took us, I don't know, about 5 to 7 minutes, and we really enjoyed it. And we felt part of the solution when it comes to funding for the state. And so it was a very proud moment for Arturo, my husband, and I to do this. And so one of the things that I, as a legislator, and it's been an honor to serve Legislative District 2, and as Ana Karina had mentioned, is I have, you know, the southeast part of Pima County, Tucson, I have Green Valley, Sahuarita, and all Santa Cruz County. So if you really look at my legislative district, it's rural. A big part of that is rural. And so what I'd like to share with you today is how the rural community needs to come together and to get this information out, to fill out the census, to be able to complete it so that we can get federal funding to the state of Arizona. And here at the state level, to be able to know where our constituents live, where the citizens of Arizona lives, where the people of Arizona are living at this time. And we can't do that unless we have those numbers. And I want to share very quickly about how important it is to really count our children, especially 0 to 5-year-olds. That is something that is crucial to the state of Arizona. That is something that has been undercounted over several censuses. And the thing is it's very, very important that we do that we encourage families. If it's a family of 2, you know, if it's a mom and a child, or if it's a family that has, you know, more than 1 child, to make sure that we count every single individual that's living in that home. And remember that it's safe, secure, and confidential. And so do it be fearless and do it. And after you do it, make sure you tell all your neighbors, all your friends, everyone that's possible. And really, and as Ana Karina had shared, I had a freshman in high school that actually is doing her part. And I'm so glad, because she is passing it on. She's paying it forward in regards to, she's telling all her friends, and then she's telling her parents, and she's telling people to just keep reminding, okay, so hey, I'm telling 10 people, you 10 tell 10 people, and it goes on and on and on. So Ana Karina, thank you very much for this opportunity to be part of this, and I'm looking forward to hearing your comments.
Yes, awesome, Rep Gabaldon. You're gonna have to introduce me to her. She could be my new best friend. We could go out and be census buddies together here in Santa Cruz County. Because, you know, some of the fun things to talk about too, you know, I'm just gonna take a second here, is, you know, opportunities that we have. We do talk about challenges, and we know that there's challenges. But opportunities are, hey, you know, let's remind folks that the citizenship question isn't going to be on there. So you definitely want to fill out the census. Opportunities like, hey, let's do a letter writing party and just write random letters to folks that we that haven't filled out the census. There's awesome resources and tools out there, like the Hard to Count Census 2020 map from CUNY, that you can really go in and narrow in and see what the self-response looks like, so that we can ensure that our community is being counted. Today, in particular, though, we are going to be talking about how to fill out the census. This week in particular was, we celebrated our Latino Census Week of Action. So we had a lot of fun activities going out throughout the week. I probably bombarded you all with a bunch of my Facebook posts and emails. But it's just so important that we continue to have a space where Latinos can feel heard, represented, and know that we are here to provide you support and resources, so that you can feel as safe and, you know, and confident to fill out the census. So today in particular, we are going to be talking about how it's so easy to fill out the census. So we have this really cool tool on naleo.org that I can share with you all. And it's like a 2020 census questionnaire guidance for Latino respondents. So I'm just gonna go over it quickly. Rep Gabaldon, please feel free to chime in. Any examples that you have that come up. This is gonna be an open dialogue. We'll go for about 5-10 minutes. But folks, if you're tuning in, please ask your questions in the comments. Rep Gabaldon and I are going to debunk some of your questions. So please, this is your space, so please feel free. So let's get into it, right? So here's some instructions on how to fill out the 2020 census. The first part is question number 1, and it's going to ask you how many people were living or staying in this house, apartment, mobile home on April 1st, 2020. I want to remind folks that April 1st was not the last day to fill out the census. It's just a friendly reminder. We got to put a national day on everything, right? So I don't know why they chose April 1st. That's April Fool's Day. Don't ask me. I'm just here to let folks know that you got to get counted. And now we have, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Census Bureau is working diligently to ensure that everyone is safe out in the field. So they are pushing back their census operations. You will have until October 31st to fill out the census. But the reason why we talk about it, now is because we want to ensure that you know that it's safe, secure, and confidential, and that you can do it from the safety of your own home without having a census enumerator come to your door and knock on your door. So the best way, again, is by phone. So you can call the 844-330-2020 number. I have my cheat code up here. That's the English number. Y en español puedes llamar a 844-468-2020. Today we'll be talking in English. This will all be in English, but I'm hoping to have our next Census Chisme Cafecito be in Spanish so that our folks en español pueden aprender también con nosotros.
Ana Karina, can I stop you at that moment?
Yeah.
I have constituents that are actually immigrants that do not their English is not their first language, and Spanish either. Is there an opportunity for individuals that know of other languages that their first language? Can you address that in regards to the census? That's a question that comes up from time to time. Thank you.
Definitely, yes. Thank you for that question, Rep Gabaldon. So when you go online, it's really cool because you have the census will be you can have it translated in many different languages. There is also specific hotline numbers that you can call for your specific language. The only difference is, as far as language goes, is that the English and Spanish are the only languages that you will physically get a questionnaire in. But there is hotline numbers. We can definitely share that. Naleo came up with a really cool graphic that shows you all the numbers of all the languages that you can call. So definitely thank you for that question. We just with Naleo, we talk a lot about, we're hoping to have a high, Latino count. So we provide a lot of our tools and resources in English and Spanish, but definitely that's a great, the census, like we say, you're here, be counted here. So if you're here, be counted here. And the Census Bureau has a lot of resources available for you so that you can complete the questionnaire in your preferred language. So thank you so much for that question, Rep Gabaldon. And please feel free to interrupt me at any time. And actually, there's I don't know if we have it here. No, there isn't. Sometimes there's like a cool reaction and you could like put a reaction and then I could stop, but please feel free to chime in. So remember that when you're filling out the census, remember to count everyone in your household. That includes babies, young children, long-term visitors, all family members, as well as unrelated persons. Do not count anyone living on a college campus, deployed in the armed forces, or in a nursing home, as they will be counted during group quarters operations. So the question number 2, so when you have your census questionnaire, the first question is going to be on the bottom. And it depends, right? I'm referencing the paper questionnaire. If you go online, it's so much easier. But we'll talk about this in reference to if you're filling out a paper questionnaire, because we know that your constituents, Rep Gabaldon, are rural residents, which most likely had received the paper questionnaire in the first round. But also, if folks haven't filled out the census, they're actually going to be getting the last mailing. If they haven't already, that's going to be the paper questionnaire. So we're going to reference everything here to the paper questionnaire.
And while you're looking at that, is you have to understand also in rural Arizona, the lack of internet connection, the broadband, and so that's understandable. So if you do get a paper questionnaire, please fill that out. Even though you said, oh, I have to go on the online, as Ana Karina said, it's by phone, online, and so that is very, very important, and the paper. So please, whatever way that you do it, but addressing rural Arizona, I know the lack of broadband, the internet, and so please, if you get that paper census, please fill that out. Thank you, Ana Karina.
Yes, thank you, Gabaldon. So question 2 is a reminder to count your children, related or unrelated, such as newborn babies, grandchildren, or foster children, relatives, such as adult children, cousins, or in-laws. So sorry, y'all, you have to count your in-laws. And that's just a funny joke. Non-relatives, such as roommates, or live-in babysitters, and people staying in your home temporarily. So you should include persons in your households regardless of immigration status, okay? Or citizenship status. Everybody counts. So we were actually on a webinar earlier, and folks asked that, for residents. Yes, you're here, be counted here. And all of us who are listening here, you are now a trusted messenger, because you're listening in, you're tuning in, you're wanting to know how you can make your community counted. So remind folks that if you're here, you need to be counted here. So question 3 is the type of residence. So they want to know, the question is intended to gather information on housing trends in the United States. Information on number of people or type of residence will not be shared with landlord or any regulating entity. So important that we emphasize that, right? Because folks might be like, okay, my landlord only asked that 4 people live in my household, but I have 10, right? That's okay. Make sure you list every single person in that household, because the census, as Rep. Gabaldon mentioned, is safe, secure, and confidential. They will not share this information with your landlord. So important that you remember to count every single person in your household, regardless of what your landlord regulations are. Question 4 is your phone number. So important that you put the phone number, so that for whatever reason, if you miss information, if there's some confusion, the Census Bureau will be able to call you without you having to receive a knock on the door. So definitely remember that it's so important to put your phone number. The next part is, who is person number 1? So if there is someone living here who pays the rent or owns this residence, start by listing him or her as person number 1. If the owner or the person who pays rent does not live here, start by listing any adult living here as person number 1. All right, the next part is person 1 answers general questions about the housing unit, including the number of persons living there and whether the dwelling is rented or owned. Please provide information for each person living here, including, and that's when you go into question number 5, you want to include their first name and last name and middle initial. This is really important because you want to make sure that it's just helpful for the census to identify the number of persons living in the household. Names, along with other information in the questionnaire, help census workers deduplicate the data, which means to remove extra records if a person appears more than once in a count. Question number 6 asks for the respondent's sex. Can only mark 1, male or female. You can respond to this question in whatever way aligns with your identity. Your response is not checked against in any other document, and the Bureau supports self-identification. If people leave this question blank, though, the Bureau will input your gender. People should understand the consequences of a blank response. Why is this important? information important? Well, these data are used to allocate federal funding for education under the Higher Education Act of 1965 and to enforce rules against gender-based discrimination. So important. There's advocates in the community who have argued that there needs to be other self-identifying gender roles. So important that we continue to advocate so that the next census can have different gender roles. And we can continue to elect representatives like Rep. Gabaldon who will ensure and continue to fight for our rights in that manner.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Ana Karina, because that is very important to be able to identify yourself as you live your life.
Right. Thank you. So the next part is question 7 is age and date of birth. So each person's age should be reported accurately. This helps ensure that each person is counted only once. For example, a parent might incorrectly write age 1 for an 11-month-old child whose birth is on April 15, 2020. The correct age on census day, April 1st, 2020 is actually 0, less than 1 year old. So birthday information helps Census Bureau staff correct common rounding mistakes in how people's ages are reported on the census form. So important that you put your date of birth. Why is this information important? Age data are used in planning government programs that provide funding or services for specific age groups. So school facilities, planning, and Head Start funding both rely on census age data. So age data are also used in programs that provide services and assistance to seniors, such as the low-income home energy assistance programs. Age data are also used to enforce laws against age discrimination.
And also, while you pause there, Ana Karina, very important as well with as I emphasized in my beginning comments with children is that we'll be able to get federal funding for what's called CHIP. Which is childcare, and so that is something that we really do need, child health, and so that's very important that people do include every child in their home, because then we can get some federal funding to help our children, not only for child care subsidies, but also their health care.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, kids care, that's what it's called. It's called kids care. Thank you.
Yes, I just sent you a text too. I really like this dialogue. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to stop after every question so you can chime in.
Okay, thank you.
Because I think it's really important to hear from a local level and how that impacts us. So how to answer, so question 8 and 9, this is why I'm bringing this in, because this is when it gets really complex. And I know a lot of folks have a lot of questions. So again, if you're watching on Facebook, please tune in, ask your questions. This is your space. We're going to be diving into now the question 8 and 9, which is Hispanic origin and race. So how to answer the confusing Hispanic origin and race questions, right? So why this information is important. The collection of Hispanic origin and race data is important for the well-being of Latinos in the United States. The information on the Hispanic origin of each person is aggregated in statistics that are used to show how many Latinos are in the country and where they live. These numbers are used to protect the civil rights of Latinos. For example, statistics on Latinos are used in drawing voting districts for Congress, state legislatures, and other levels of government so that Latinos can elect candidates of their choice. Knowing the correct number of Latinos, African Americans, Asians, American Indians, and others in the country helps us promote policies and programs that serves our communities. So important. So one of the questions is, isn't Latino Hispanic my race? The short answer is no. So according to the Census Bureau, Hispanic origin and race are two different concepts. And everyone should answer both questions, even though many Latinos consider their Hispanic background to be their race. The Census Bureau says being Latino is an ethnicity, not a race. Do you have any comments, Rep. Gabaldon?
Yes, and that conversation has been had not only on the state level, but on the national level. I've attended meetings to really address that and how future census are really going to be impacted by those conversations that are happening now. So it's very, very important that you do include that, but it is kind of confusing. But if you do have questions about that, please get in contact with the Census and the LEO. I mean, there is a lot of different sources that you can ask questions. Simple phone call, you'll actually talk to a human being that actually will be able to answer those questions. And I know it gets confusing, but again, as Ana Karina said, it's the more input that the census gets, the better. In 10 years, our next census will be able to identify ourselves the way we want to identify ourselves. And so again, it's very important, as Ana Karina said, the programs of people of color is very, very important.
Yes, thank you, Rep. Gabaldon. So then it goes into question 8, the Hispanic origin question. So here the Census Bureau asks every person if he or she is Hispanic or Latino. If the person is not Latino, the no box should be marked and then proceed to the race question. If the person is Latino, there are 4 check boxes to mark. One is Mexican, Mexican American / Chicano. The next one is Puerto Rican. The next one is Cuban. And finally is other Hispanic. So what if my origin is not listed? If the person is Hispanic, other than the 3 named origins, write in the origin of the person. For example, Salvadorian, Guatemalan, Dominican, Argentinian. If the other box is checked and nothing is written, the person will just be included in the statistics as other Hispanic. So can I mark more than one Hispanic origin? The answer is yes. It is possible to mark more than one Hispanic origin box and write in more than one Hispanic background. However, keep in mind that the Bureau will only pick one Hispanic background per person when reporting the statistics. So question 9 is the race question. The federal government recognizes our 4 official race categories, and the Census Bureau understands that the way it asks for the race of each person can be confusing. So if I respond to Hispanic origin, do I have to respond to the question on race? Yes, you do. Remember that the Census Bureau says being Hispanic is an ethnicity. So one person indicates he or she is Latino, the Census Bureau still wants to know what race that person belongs to. So the official race categories are white, Black, American Indian or Alaska Native, and Asian or Pacific Islander. So can I check more than one race? Yes, you can. As a person can choose one or more race categories. A person who checks more than one race will be reported as more than one race in the statistics that are published. Another question folks has is, can I be Latino and consider myself a particular race? Absolutely. Each of the race categories has the option to write in more detail. For example, a person could mark Mexican as the Hispanic origin and white as his race. Or someone could mark Dominican as her Hispanic origin and Black as her race. Another question, can I identify with many races? Yes, you can. Some Latinos consider themselves of many races or mestizo. They can check as many race categories with which they identify. Can I simply be some other race? Yes, you can. So some Latinos do not consider themselves a part of any of the official race categories. They can mark some other race and write in more detail if they want. But it is important to know that the federal government does not consider some other race to be an official category. So that's some good information there for you. We still keep going. Should I leave the questions blank? No, do not leave the questions blank. All Latinos should complete the Hispanic origin question so as to be included in the statistics about Latinos. All Latinos should answer the race question according to how they feel comfortable. It is a personal choice. Will these confusing questions change in the future? Naleo Education Fund is working with the Census Bureau to improve how Hispanic origin and race are asked about in the census. Rep. Gabaldon, do you want to chime in on anything about that?
Yes, and again, as I shared before, Ana Karina and everyone that's listening, is that those are questions that have been asked for all people of color, and so how we identify ourselves is something that's going to be very, very important. And those conversations don't stop at this census; that they will continue, so that the next census will improve. So again, we as a country, we need to learn how we can define ourselves and through the census, so that that data is very, very important for the future. So the information that we get in the census will continue to give that information, so that we know where the populations are living, what the needs are for our communities. And so very, very important that we continue to do that, and be able to fill out the census, and be able to identify ourselves the way we want to identify ourselves. And again, it's a work in progress, but we are making it better and better. Every census gets a little bit better in regards to that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rep. Gabaldon. So finally, now after that's over, we want to now count persons 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So complete the questions for each additional person. Each additional person will be asked the 2 additional questions below, which includes, does this person usually live or stay somewhere else? This question is to ensure that the person is not already counted through other operations like group quarter counts. Then they want to know the relationship to person number 1. So the census seeks to identify husband and wives, children and stepchildren, and siblings, along with other family and non-family relationships. In 2020, people will be able to identify for the first time as a same-sex husband, wife, or spouse, or as a same-sex unmarried partner, which is pretty cool. So why is this information important? By identifying relationships between people in a household, census data enable us to find important trends in our society, such as the number of people living with non-relatives, whether young adults are living with parents or moving in with roommates, the number of households that include extended family members, such as in-laws or adult siblings, and the number of sex-same households, which is pretty cool. This information is also used to determine funding for federal nutrition and education programs, housing programs, and other social services that provide benefits to many U.S. communities. Rep. Gabaldon, would you mind going into a little bit more detail? I know that there's the top 12 federal funding programs.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on what that looks like for our community?
Thank you, Ana Karina. One of the things that is most important is to realize that we can get the state of Arizona can get federal funding for access, Medicaid. And that is something that's very, very important, because what the state of Arizona is there's individuals that need healthcare between jobs. Whatever the reason is, they'll be able to have that federal funding, but it's very important that you fill out your census so that we can get that. Another part of that is again, I had mentioned kids care, which is called CHIP. And that is something that's very important, so that children can get health care. But again, state of Arizona can either match that federal funding, or be able to add on to the federal funding in regards to that. So healthcare for our children. Section 8, housing, very, very important for people of color's population, well, all population, to be able to have the housing, so that we can end homelessness. We can be able to have people live in dwellings and not be homeless. Also, the Title I grants. And so those are the kind of things. The highway planning and construction infrastructure is very, very important. And so to be able to get those Tiger grants, those grants that we're able to do. One of the things was I want to just one project that I want to bring up is State Route 189 Mariposa Road. Federal funding actually came in with that state funding, so that we were able to increase our trade and commerce throughout the state of Arizona, so that, and to build better relationships with our neighbor Mexico. And so those are very important. Also, Medicaid, Medicare, where there's different programs for Medicare that we can get federal funding here. Again, healthcare, housing, programs, the block grants. Those are so many things, the programs that we can, in the state of Arizona, can get assistance through the feds, but the federal government, but we have to have the proper numbers. We need to know where the people of Arizona are living so that we can put that funding in the proper locations. I mean,
Yes.
Ana Karina had mentioned, but I only mentioned a few of the 12, but I have to tell you, very, very important that we as a state of Arizona can show the federal government that we need that assistance because this is who's living in Arizona.
Yes. Thank you, Rep Gabaldon. Um, so we are going to now move into the last part of how many people can I list on my census form. So unfortunately on the form, you can only, the paper form only has space for up to 6 people to provide all of their demographic information. Paper forms have room to list up to 10 people on the roster. But the online form, when you go to my2020census.gov or the Census Questionnaire Assistance Line, can accept as many as 99 people in a household. So that's pretty cool. Households with more than 6 people that use the paper form should to include their phone number so that the Census Bureau can do the follow-up to collect full demographic information for the remaining people on the roster or by phone. So if you still have census questions, you can actually contact, we have at Naleo Education Fund, we have a hotline number you can call. It's 877 El Censo, or you can visit our hagasecontar.org website, and we have some great people who are waiting to take all your calls regarding the census. If you just don't feel comfortable or confident enough yet, which is totally fine, you can call our hotline. We're here to hear you. We're here to, kind of debunk those questions that you have. If you're just still not feeling secure about, wanting to list all your family members in your household for the fear of getting in trouble, please call our hotline. Please talk to these amazing folks that are here for you. They're here for you so that they can share information with you and help you get those jitters off so that we can make sure we have an accurate count in our census 2020. So lastly, households, oh no, that was it. To respond to the census questionnaire by phone, again, you can call 1-844-330-2020. And in Spanish, you can call 1-844-468-2020. And as Rep Gabaldon mentioned earlier, there are hotline assistance numbers for different languages as well. The only difference is that the paper questionnaire is only in the 2 languages, English and Spanish. But that's it. That was pretty easy. I know that took more time than I had planned to. It was definitely not 5 minutes, but I think this was great. I'm hoping that all you folks out there who are tuning in can see, it was really fun. I hope it was good information to see, not just going through it, but really talking about the race and Hispanic questions. And having Rep Gabaldon to also share how locally we can see how the census will impact us. So our next part there is we actually wanted to go into frequently asked questions, but also move into our Ask Me Anything part of our census Chisme today. So Rep Gabaldon, I do have actual Raul Iaguirre says hi. Hi, Raul. He's on my Facebook right now, and he asks, Rep Gabaldon, what can we do to help the farms get their produce to food banks instead of destroying it? Is the state legislature addressing the situation? So I think this is a question in regards to what's going on right now because of COVID-19. We can definitely go into that question if you would like to. This is a constituent of yours, so I would like to open that space if you'd like. He also has a census question, so I can also ask this. I'll read the census question as well. And so his census question is also on the census. Spanish language dominant homes are still lagging behind. What other strategies are you using to reach the population effectively? Well, actually, I think this was a great conversation to open it up to you all, right? We are all trusted messengers here. Your voice is so important and so powerful in this. Whatever you can do to call your friends, I found that, being in this self quarantine right now is really bringing me back to like the 90s of like picking up the house phone, because there's been sometimes I need to disconnect from my phone, so I text my friends, I'm like, hey, in case of emergency, call my house phone. But then I was starting to think of like, yeah, we don't call anybody anymore, we don't pick up the phone, everything's email. And we're being bombarded by emails right now, so there's nothing like picking up the phone, calling your friends, saying, hey, have you done it yet? If not, I'm here to help you. So Raul, thank you for that question. We also know that the Census Bureau is pushing back its operations until October 31st. There's so much time now to be creative, guys. We can get super creative. I just talked about one way that we can do some letter writing. Raul, I'm asking you now to please send to me 5 letters that you want to just write to folks, and then we'll look at the hard to count map. We'll see and identify where there's still folks that haven't counted, and then hopefully maybe we can see if we can start sending some letters out to folks as a friendly reminder. That's just one idea. If you all have some great ideas, please post them in the comment below. This is our 2020 census, so it's up to us to think of creative solutions to try and make sure our voice is being heard in our community, and to ensure that we're reminding folks how safe, secure, and confidential it is. And I'm going to stop there because I know I said Rep Gabaldon and then I kind of took over the space as always because Ana Karina loves to talk. But Rep Gabaldon, I'll bring it to you. How would you like to address that?
Okay, Raul, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you asked both those questions. Let me address the first question in regards to the food banks. The state of Arizona actually is providing assistance through the National Guard. I'll give you an example. The Sahuarita Food Bank, a lot of their volunteers were aging population, and now the National Guard is there actually being able to unload trucks, being able to distribute the food to the people that are coming there that do need food assistance. In regards to fresh produce, that was something that I brought up to the governor's office, brought up to my fellow legislators, to actually the food banks that are down at Santa Cruz County with the Borderland Food Bank, with Sahuarita Food Bank, on the Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona, that yes, and working with the Fresh Produce Association so that we can actually have those conversations to be able to communicate with each other, to that if the Fresh Produce Association, any of the individuals that are bringing in the produce, that does not go to waste, that it does go to the hungry families that are out there, the people, the community. So I would love to hear your ideas. Please contact me through my office. If you need that information, you know how to get a hold of me. And then your second question in regards to how we get people of color, especially Latinos, to actually fill out the census. That is something that is ongoing in regards through what's called the complete count committees for the census, having been able to distribute this information to the Latino community, the community of our people of color, and all of that. And so this is an ongoing process. We are, and I mean this is everybody and his brother, the state of Arizona, going out and actually having those conversations and encouraging that it is safe, secure, and confidential. I think that is something that people do not trust the government, but we have to, as leaders. I know that you are a leader as well, Raul. As leaders, we need to continue to message that out, to continue to share that message, so that that Latinos feel confident to do the census, because we know that there's benefits to do that. So thank you for your questions.
Yeah, and Raul continue. He posted another comment. Thank you, Rep. Gabaldon. Said, Midvale has only answered at about 13%, and Pima County at 49%. So I just want to address that. Yes, that's most likely correct. I did post a really cool graphic. You can also look it up. And it showed our South Tucson side. our South Tucson folks have a very low response rate, and it's most likely because they received the paper questionnaire and they didn't, or they may have waited till the last mailing to receive the paper questionnaire to fill it out. So we definitely need to encourage folks that if they did receive the paper questionnaire, to look in their envelopes, right? Look at their pile, their stack of mail, get it out, fill out the census, just like we remind folks to look for their ballot. Right now, we're asking folks to look for their census questionnaire form that should have been mailed to them. So if we continue to advocate in that way, Raul, I'd love to see how I can work with you. I know that you have great resources out there. I'd love to work with you in community to continue to advocate for Midvale to look through their mail, make sure that they fill out the census. There's so many great creative ideas that we can do. There's definitely a lot of time, as I have mentioned. I'm in the process actually hoping to work with Sonia Tabanico with La Poderosa so we can do some PSAs out in those important areas. I know the Pima County Hard to Count Committee with Naharin Jabro, you all, if you're in Pima County and you're not on that committee and you're not participating, then that's probably another reason why our percent rate is low. I understand that everybody is doing their what they believe is their part, but there's so much more we can do, right? And so like looking and coming to these meetings and listening and hearing more ways of creative solutions and having spaces like this is so great. Thank you, Raul, for your questions, because it brings an opportunity to talk about it, right? So please, folks, if you're in Pima County and you're on that Hard to Count committee, please let's talk about it. We should have, next Friday, I'm going to start hosting a Arizona State of the Census call. This is a good opportunity for you to come in. Raul, I would invite you to be a co-chair of Pima County. So when we do our breakout sessions, you can be in the regional discussion and we can talk about how we can make sure that folks are being counted in Midvale. Again, there's so many great, ways, things that we can do, solutions. And lastly, is that Leadership Conference teamed up with Pima County Hard to Count Committee, with One Arizona and with Naleo. Before COVID-19 happened, we were gonna have a big celebration with late Supervisor Richard Elias, rest in power, and we had to postpone. But we do have a bunch of really cool makeup bags that were given to us by Sephora with through Leadership Conference. So we have really great incentives that we can actually give folks and send folks out so that they can fill out the census. So there's lots of creative ways that we can encourage folks. So definitely please reach out to Naharin Jabro. She's at the Supervisor District 5. She is definitely really interested in seeing how we can distribute these cosmetic bags. They're really cool cosmetic bags from Sephora to specifically our hard to count communities, like folks in Midvale. So
Can I add
thank you
something?
for that question.
One more
Go
thing, Ana Karina, thank you very much. Is also what we're encouraging the state of Arizona, and we're all leaders. It doesn't matter if you have a title. We are all leaders, and we can be the communicators in our communities. But one of the I think is most important is to be able to have these not-for-profits that are more than happy to sit there and encourage people. You're picking up your food box. Okay, you know what? Have you filled out your census?
Yeah,
Encouraging
that's a
that,
good idea.
being able to these agencies that right now with this pandemic that's happening, COVID-19, to be able to go hand in hand, because this is truly and it's an unfortunate example of how we can find out who is in our community and how we can serve better our community through not-for-profits, for state agencies to encourage individuals to fill out their census.
Yes, great discussion. Rep Gabaldon, did you have any folks? That was the only questions I got. Did you have any questions on your end?
No, I didn't get any questions, but I'm sure that people are going to be watching this over and over again, because this is a great conversation. They're going to share this with their family and neighbors to find out. And it was a wonderful presentation, Ana Karina, how you explained how to fill out the census. So again, it's not that people can go in fearless and to sit there and say, yes, it's safe, it's secure, and it's confidential, and it's very, very important that we each do that. But one of my thoughts that I wanted to share is actually, again, speaking about leadership, is that we all are leaders, and we do have to encourage everyone to step up and be that leader, to encourage people, all people, to fill out their census. And we can do that. We can do that by being all leaders. It doesn't have to take elected officials. It's you that is the leaders, and that you need to step up and be the person to ask everybody to fill out their census.
Yes. Thank you, Rep. Gabaldon. Raul Aguirre is continuing to chime in the discussion, which is great. So he says, we need to engage Spanish radio, TV, and other media and make sure the federal government invests in Spanish media. Yes, Raul, we agree. Did you know that our governor did not put any funding to the census for census outreach? So local municipalities had to do that and step in. So Mayor Romero is an excellent example. I don't remember exactly. I think it was like 32,000 or some large, no, I think it was more, that she allocated to the city of Tucson to ensure that residents, for census outreach. One really cool thing I saw actually, because Nogales, is it the water department, Rep. Gabaldon, or the electricity, right? So it was water. It's water. My parents, like right before the census, forms went out, in our water bill, we had a cool little slip that said, the census is coming, fill out the census. This is how you do it. So I agree with you, Raul. We need to continue to invest and advocate for that and hold people accountable. But I won't go into I'm learning to Zen. So the next part is, I don't believe the investments is insufficient. I don't either. Thank you to all those local Rep. Gabaldon, who continues to advocate for funding. We talked about it last week, actually. We talked about Red for Ed, right? The Red for Ed movement was a response because of, if you look at it, it's because of the lack of account that we had in 2010. So therefore, the lack of funding for education, we constantly are battling, right, for funds for public education. So guess what? The community had to take matters into their own hand, and therefore Red for Ed was created, because we wanted to make sure that teachers also were being paid. So this is all in a response to a lack of an accurate count. So you can definitely bring it all back to how the census really is life. The census is life, y'all. That was like the first thing I learned when I started working with Naleo, and I was like, yes, that's why I'm here. That's why God has me here today. I'm always ask, where do I need to be? And it's to be here in this moment, and you as well, to ensure that we have an accurate count in the census 2020, because it is our right. We are here, we're living here. We need to be counted here so that we can ensure that we have fundings, because it isn't fair, Raul. It isn't fair that we see a lack of investment for everything, not just the census. So thank you so much for that conversation. I love it. Definitely got my blood running. I'm like ready to make some calls right now and see who else I can get to fill out the census. Raul, I invite you to please, take a picture of yourself filling out the census, showing how easy it is. I can send you some awesome The President is Latina shirts that we have for your familia. I know you have amazing mujeres in your familia that can support this shirt as a message, because Latinas and we are a strong voice in our community. We are the trusted messengers in our community. Raul says,
okay, I just want to add, while you're looking at the question, I wanted to add also is the opportunity to get a 10th congressional district for the state of Arizona. So that means we have more individuals, we have more representatives at the federal level, so that we can bring our message. And yes, I agree with Ana Karina, the lack of funding with our governor is that we should have put more money towards the census. But I have to tell you, leaders such as yourself, Raul, and others have stepped up and have been the voice of people of color, Latinos especially, to sit there and say, we are important, we want to be counted, we are here, so count me. And so again, that is something that is ongoing. We have to continue to do that, to advocate so that we have another voice at the U.S. Capitol that can represent it. And we can only do that if people fill out their census.
Yes, and Raul continues to say we have already sent it a long time ago. And thanks, Rosanna, for mentioning the additional congressional seat. He also mentioned, I have to add that Radio Maxima Nogales has done a great job, and Azteca, yes, they have. Actually, I have a friend who's working at Maxima. I need to reach out to him. I've been thinking about creative ways as well. We are doing it, but the stations need the support, especially now. Yes, I agree. Raul, I'd love to have a one-on-one with you this week so that we can talk about how we can use our Spanish media, because as we've mentioned, we are the trusted messengers, and that includes our Spanish media. That includes Univision. And actually, Univision's been doing a pretty good job with the census, with outreach as well. We are doing it, but the stations need the support, especially now. Yes, they do. And so, yes, Raul says for sure, let's connect. Great. I'm excited. I mean, we could even do a podcast, Raul, a weekly census update podcast that we share. We can do this Chisme Cafecitos. We can do it on Sundays. We can do it completamente en español para que nuestra gente, nuestra comunidad entiende. Yo tengo todo, no tenemos tiempo. It's like we're even past time, and I said everything in English, but guess what? I have everything in Spanish. So, Raul, I'd love to invite you. Maybe next weekend we can do this cafecito o el following, y podemos hacerlo completamente en español. Muchas gracias por sus comentarios. Thank you for your comments. I think this really brought a great flavor to the end of our conversation. I don't know, Rosanna, did you have any other comments from folks?
Thank you. Thank you, Ana Karina. And Raul, we have the Latino caucus at the state capitol. Please involve us. There is Ana Karina had mentioned the Red for Red. We have educators that are legislators. So again, we have to encourage people to vote in more women and people of color. And that is something that is very important. We can continue to do that. So I'd like to also work with you to get that message out to all communities, and to be able for them to hear us, not just the elected officials, but all leaders in our community, to sit there and say, fill it out. It's safe, it's secure, and confidential. And that is what is most important, because they hear people, they're going to hear from individuals that they respect. And it could be a school teacher. It could be, it could be the local grocer, to sit there and say, this is important to us. And so I would love to work with you as well. And thank you very much, Ana Karina, for this opportunity to talk and to have this cafecito and this conversation, because it's very, very important that we educate ourselves so that we can be, as you said, the messengers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rep. Gabaldon. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you learned a lot. This space is for you. I want to just end this by reminding folks that self-responding to the census is the easiest way to make sure you are counted amid the COVID-19 situation. Self-response is quick, easy, and can be done online, by phone, or by mail. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Muchas gracias, Rep. Gabaldon. This was a lot of fun. And tune in next week. We'll see what the next Chisme is gonna be about next week, guys. So thank you, everybody, and I hope you guys have a blessed and safe and healthy weekend. Cuídense. Remember to wash your hands. Practice self-distancing if you can. And muchas gracias. Bye.
Keep Arizona safe. Bye.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.